Hello friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today's finally the day to do the much anticipated. I know for me, some of you guys are hanging around waiting for this video. The magic recipe I hope to develop today here with you live, not live, but pre-recorded, of a new pickled Brussels sprout recipe. So I have pickled Brussels sprouts before and we loved them. We did it when our foreign exchange student Dan was living with us. She loved it so much that it was like one of her most requested items to take back home with her. And in that video, there is a ball canning recipe for just plain pickled Brussels sprouts. It's just a white vinegar recipe, and you pickle it like you would pickle anything else. But is there any better way to eat Brussels sprouts than like balsamic maple glazed Brussels sprouts? So my head got spinning. Balsamic vinegar, why can't I just pre-cook or pre-can my balsamic maple glazed Brussels sprouts? So that's what we're going to try to do today, and I'm excited to share it with you. And so this afternoon I got all my Brussels sprouts cleaned and washed. I did, if you saw the video where I brought them home from the farmer's market, they're quite big Brussels sprouts. So I did have them so I could fit more in a jar, because if I had left them whole, I wouldn't have been able to fit as many, and I'm so glad I did that. I don't think I did that last time. Oddly, I had a lot that had like brown damaged leaves curled up inside, maybe from like a dry spell or something that we had during the summer. So very glad I did that. I am pre-filling my jars with the Brussels sprouts so I can kind of get an idea of how much brine I need to make, because being that this is the first time and I'm making up the recipe, I just need to get a good judgment of how many quarts I'm going to end up with. So I am decently packing them. I'm not going to break out my pickle packer or anything like that, and we're just going to 1 inch of headspace. So I pre-washed these before I trimmed. You're going to trim the ends off, take the outer leaves off, any damaged leaves. If you cut into them and notice bad things, go ahead and toss those. Now they will just get fed to our chickens, who will absolutely love them. Our chickens love cabbage. And I have gone ahead, and let me just tell you some of the ingredients I'm working with. I have added, can you guys see in there? 4 or 5 peppercorns to each quart jar. We're going to be adding some of our homemade chili flakes. We will be working with white wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, regular white wine, maple syrup, real maple syrup. Don't use that fake stuff. And if you want other alternatives, you can use brown sugar, you could use honey. Or if you wanted a sugar-less option, you could choose to balance out your vinegars with an apple cider vinegar. That'll be sweeter for you than not use, or going more of a sugar-free route. Okay, so let's get these packed. I didn't know how many jars I would need it, so I got out just a bunch. We'll see how many fit. I think I got about 20 cups of halved Brussels sprouts here. Now you're going to find a lot of recipes that call for like blanching your Brussels sprouts for 4 to 5 minutes before packing them in the jar. I'm purposely choosing not to do that because I want my Brussels sprouts still to have enough of a bite that I can, because I know what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to roast them out of the jar. So they'll still get cooked a bit even after canning. So I don't want them to be overly prepared and still have some good chew to them. Even eating them fresh pickled right out of the jar, I like to have a nice crunch to my pickled goods. Alrighty, so I ended up with I ended up with exactly 12 quarts of beautiful Brussels sprouts. Aren't those pretty? Now I'm estimating around 2 cups of brine for each quart. So let's start the magic. So I have just white wine vinegar, and I will say that this is not a frugal canning recipe. This stuff is expensive. So if you want to, you could choose to just go with the balsamic vinegar and use apple cider vinegar or white vinegar to cut down on the cost. But this is a little bit of an extravagant canning recipe, I readily admit that. So I want to, since I need about 24 cups of brine, let's see. Hold on, let me get off camera and do math and I'll come back. All right, I think I have it figured out. So we're gonna start with just over around 8 cups of water. And then I've got 6 cups of white wine vinegar. And then we're gonna add 6 cups of white wine itself. This is Pinot Grigio. Excuse me, you want a dry white wine. Oh, just that. All right. Then we are doing 2.5 cups of balsamic vinegar. I kind of made the recipe based off what I had. So I think if I had another bottle of balsamic, I might up the balsamic if I had more. And then I'm going with, I think this should be like 1.5 cups of maple syrup. So make sure it's maple syrup. I got it out of my fridge. Yep. Let's just measure so I can write it down how much it was. Yep, right at 1.5 cups. Alrighty, now I'm gonna bring all of this up to heat, and while this is heating up, we will get the rest of the ingredients in the jars. Okay, to each one of the jars, I'm adding some of this is ours. We just dry and grind peppers at the end of the year for some pepper flakes. So it's a mix of jalapenos, probably some cayenne, and banana peppers maybe. And I'm adding just a sprinkle, not a lot, just a sprinkle. Just to add some spice to the sweet. And then we are going to be adding some salt, some lemon juice. Now you can get creative, like how do you like your Brussels sprouts seasoned? Like I said, I've already got peppercorns at the bottom. You could add garlic to this, whether powdered garlic or garlic cloves. Now garlic, if you're using fresh garlic and you pickle it, it will take on like a blue hue to it in the pickling process, but it's still totally edible. It just might look a little funny in the jar. Let me get my lemon juice. Oops, excuse me. All right, so to the, I'm gonna add just kind of an overflowing cap full of lemon juice. Not necessary for canning safety or anything like that with all the vinegar that we're using. I just want the lemon juice for the brightness of flavors. All right, now we're gonna add some salt. Lots of conversations in the canning community around what type of salt everyone uses. So you can use canning salt here. You could use pink Himalayan salt, kosher salt. I happen to have Redmond's real salt. That's what I'm using. And I'm going with right at a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just shy probably, in each jar. Now stick around to the end for sure, because I want to tell you guys how will I now open a jar and eat it once it's canned. But I still need to get these filled up with the brine once the brine's heated up, debubble them, get them canned. Last ingredient is pickle crisp. Pickle crisp helps, if you're not familiar with it, it helps keep textured of pickled items crunchy. That's basically its primary purpose. And I add it to absolutely everything I'm pickling, whether it's pickles, carrots, cabbage, anything I'm pickling, I add it to it. Getting down to the slim pickings of this jar. Okay, we'll be back when it's time to fill the jars, but right now I'm pretty excited. Okay, the brine is heated through. Smells like when you're making balsamic roasted Brussels sprouts. I'm thinking through my head watching this. So let me space this out, this brine, because again, not knowing how much it would make, I may have to do a simple apple cider water brine to top off these jars. So I want to balance what I have across the jars, and then we'll see if we need to add anything more. So right now I'm just doing 3 good ladlefuls, and this will give me a baseline now for my recipe. And this is something that you're going to develop with time if you're a new canner. And so I have my own canning cookbook, and like I'll tell you guys, like that's transparent to you, where I'm working out math and numbers to come up with, and then I'll make final tweaks as I finalize the recipe. I do this regularly, especially like when I was nailing my pizza sauce recipe, just doing final tweaks of seasoning and the right amount of lemon juice, and just all the things to know, okay, yep, that's my baseline. Let me put that one officially in the books, and then you don't have to do it again. You've got it documented, and it's your very own, and you can come back to it as many times as you like without having to go through that process again. So I'm just gonna work my way through these jars. I'll let you guys know where I land if I end up having to make more basic brine just to top off the jars. But I tell you what, isn't that gorgeous? Oh my goodness. These are gonna be some seriously good Brussels sprouts. No, I did that. All right, I'm just debubbling it. I honestly, guys, that was not magic behind the scenes. Todd was in here filming different angles as I was doing this. I was like, am I gonna make it? I don't know how I made it just so. That's crazy. So there you go, pretty darn close. There might be 1 or 2 that I need to just top off with, and I'll just use water. Just top off like this one right here up in front. It's not quite to the 1 inch mark. And 1 inch is very conservative with pickling things. You could probably go a 1/2 inch of headspace too. So All right, nice. Wow, this looks so cool with the green and the, I just love canning my own recipes. I find it so fun and so rewarding. So, I was telling you, how do I get inspired to do this? Well, one of our philosophies, and you'll see I use it often in hashtags on social media, grow what you eat, preserve what you eat. And so now, in all transparency, I've tried many times to grow Brussels sprouts, and I cannot grow them to save my life. So I did buy these at a farmer's market, but it is something our family thoroughly enjoys. Todd, not so much, but the kids, myself, everyone, when we have a family gathering, a nice holiday meal, nothing better than a sheet pan of roasted Brussels sprouts. So, wow, that's amazing. But I have enough years of experience and just general knowledge to understand the pickling process, right? And then I got inspired, honestly. I think I was watching Stiver's Homestead, and they were doing the bruschetta in a jar. And she was using white wine vinegar and balsamic vinegar, I believe. And I was like, I don't eat much bruschetta, but those are really similar ingredients to my balsamic Brussels sprouts. And I just got to thinking, I'm like, you know what? There's no reason this recipe won't work. So I need to get some vinegar, wipe the rims of this jars out. But I started to say all that to say, if there is something that your family really enjoys eating, think through the canning process to can safely preserve similar items. And you might find just a way to make it happen for you. So I'm just using a little bit of vinegar to wipe any of the sticky, yummy, delicious brine off of my jar rims. This one I need to set aside, and this one because it needs just a little bit more water. But I tell you what, that doesn't get any cooler looking. I can't wait to see what it looks like coming out of the jars. I'm sure they'll all be brown. Like, nothing ever stays as cool and as pretty as when you first put it in the jar. But hang on though, still. We have to can this. These are quarts. I'm going to water bath can them, not pressure can. Water bath can for 15 minutes. If they were pints, you could do 10 minutes. So let me get some more water added to these two jars, and then I think we're good to start putting on the lids of our jars. So I prefer to use either my big Amish water bath canner, which is outside right now, and I just didn't feel like pulling around the hose. And it's a cool day in the house, so I can water bath can inside. Using my pressure canners for water bath canning pints. I don't seal the lids or anything like that. I just set the lid on top and then let it boil because they're tall enough, unlike my water bath canner, that water doesn't boil over. All right, one down. Couple more to go, and I'll see you guys back after 15 minutes of these being in the canner, and we'll take them out, see what they look like, and I'm exactly going to tell you what I'm going to do to get these ready for those amazing family dinners. Okay, well, they are all out of the done with processing. I'm going to take them out of the canner and we'll see them for the first time together. How about that? Okay, I promised you I would tell you though, how am I going to use these? Well, obviously, for balsamic maple roasted Brussels sprouts. But the thing I'm going to do differently than I did with my last batch of pickled Brussels sprouts is I'm going to reserve this brine and reduce it. Make a balsamic reduction and then brush that on top of my Brussels sprouts when I roast them. And it will not go to waste. It will become just all the delicious added flavors. You can fry up some bacon, put some bacon on it, toss in some toasted pecans or cranberries, however your family likes them. We like them totally just pan roasted. I prefer roasting them in a cast iron skillet, but sheet pan roasted balsamic Brussels sprouts are so, so good. So we have all the future Brussels sprouts my heart can desire. Hopefully this lasts us just a little bit longer than it has in the past. I know I at least have this item for once a month, being that I have 12 quarts. And maybe we'll do even more next year. So hopefully it inspired you of another awesome recipe. Thinking just a little bit outside of the box with the freedom of home food preserving that it gives us. So I encourage you to get in your kitchen, get creative, and like I said at the beginning of the video, preserve what your family eats. And yeah, that's what we're doing here, and I'll talk to you guys on the next video.